Don't forget, you can reach the latest episode of Potomac Watch anytime. Just ask your smart speaker, Play the Opinion Potomac Watch Podcast. That is, Play the Opinion Potomac Watch Podcast.
From the opinion pages of the Wall Street Journal, this is Potomac Watch.
Welcome back. I'm Paul Gigot with the Potomac Watch Podcast, Wall Street Journal opinion pages with Kim Strassel and Bill McGurn. Let's pivot to what the leading political challenger to President Biden, Donald Trump, has been saying about the war in Gaza and events. And he made a call to Hugh Hewitt's radio show on Thursday morning and was asked, of course, about events in Israel. And what he said was he thinks it's just taking too long for the Israeli government to finish the job. He said that he wants Israel to go ahead because I'm not sure that I'm loving the way they're doing it, because you have to have a victory and it's taking a long time. And the other thing I hate, they put out tapes all the time. Every night they're releasing tapes of a building falling down. They shouldn't be releasing tapes like that. That's why they're losing the PR war. Israel is absolutely losing the PR war, end quote. Kim, it's not really grasping the nettle there, except I guess he's not saying they shouldn't go into Rafah or not commenting on any details. He's just saying they got to move faster.
It's classic Donald Trump. This is taking too long, people. One thing he also said in that, and I do think it was a very key phrase, he said they need to finish what they started, which to me signals that Donald Trump is sticking with Israel and saying that he has their back in terms of their objective. But yes, his complaint, as is often Donald Trump when it comes to international conflicts, he doesn't like anything that's drawn out. He does, I will give him this, he does understand that Americans also prefer to see conflicts end quickly. This has always been one of the struggles when the United States and anywhere is engaged in a foreign conflict, is keeping political will on side. But that's what we look to leaders to do, to explain the consequences of early abandonment. Not really Donald Trump's strong suit. I think this distinguishes somewhat from Joe Biden. He isn't being outwardly critical other than a timeline perspective, and his professed worry that if this drags on, it will be more difficult for Israel to sustain it. And there is a reality to that.
You know, I think it's interesting to me, Bill, that he hasn't criticized Biden on Israel. You know, he's kind of stayed away from saying that Biden should be more steadfast in support. He hasn't said that Biden hasn't made the point about Hamas holding U.S. hostages. Why do you think that is, Bill?
I don't know. I assume that bolstering his gut instinct to side with Netanyahu is the fact that Biden is being criticized for not supporting them strong enough, especially in rhetoric. So I would have expected him to say more. I think he will, as he realizes. I think to Donald Trump, a lot of his political, if he thinks that support for Israel, strong support, is anti-Biden, I think he'll embrace it more fully. But you point out the politics are very odd because, you know, the demonstrations, people blocking airports like JFK on behalf of Gaza, a lot of those people that are very passionate would, I think, be Bobby Kennedy supporters. And he's anti-Biden. He's been critical, been very strong of it.
Yeah, pro-Israel.
Yeah, it reminds me when I was in Afghanistan during the first war, the Afghans loved the Rambo movies. And then they found out one of the ones, maybe the last one, was filmed in the Zionist entity. And it kind of dampened their enthusiasm. And I kind of feel the protesters, I don't think most of them know Bobby Kennedy's position, but it makes for strange bedfellows. I think one of the things that's been shattered in addition to the two-state solution is kind of unfortunately a bipartisan consensus on Israel. I think the left is splitting the Democratic Party from Israel. And I think that's going to make for all sorts of interesting politics, especially in 2024. And I do think Trump was on to it was a political point, not a substantive point about taking long. You know, when I was with Bush in the White House, he always said, you know, Bubba wants those troops home. and it took 3 years to get a successful surge strategy. Time is generally not on the fighter's side, the people trying to defend themselves against terrorists. So if that's, as Kim said, just a kind of an analysis of the fact, that's one thing. If it signals, well, maybe I'll get bored with support if this goes on too long, that's a very different thing entirely.
Kim, it is also in Joe Biden's interest that this end soon, right? Because the sooner it does, the conflict in Gaza, the sooner he can pursue the deal he wants between Israel and Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia to conclude a peace deal that would have them join the Abraham Accords. That's still very much on the minds of the Biden White House. Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, was supposed to travel over there. So they still want that to be done. And then, of course, for the reasons Bill has described about the pressure from the Democratic left, they want this done well before the Democratic convention in August, which could be quite a damaging spectacle of internal Democratic division.
Sure. This president has all kinds of reasons to want this done. I mean, one, obviously, he would just like this conflict to be over. It's one more overseas distraction. He was already dealing with Ukraine, trying to keep support marshaled to continue getting aid to that ally. This is one more conflict that is in many ways spiraling out of his control. So you get that done, and not only do you take it off the balance sheet, maybe you even get a win after it, as you said, with a peace deal. But also, this is just a president who prefers to talk about domestic issues. He would much rather be doing tours of the country, bragging about the infrastructure money he put out, and talking about abortion than he would be foreign policy issues. I don't know if he's going to get that wish. Israel's been pretty clear that this is going to take some time. Donald Trump's advice to Israel notwithstanding, I would wager that that country understands that unless you actually complete the mission and essentially make it so that Hamas cannot reconstitute itself and repeat another October 7th, then all of this has not been worth it. So, I mean, this could still go on.
We're already at the 6-month mark here since October 7th. And in that sense, it is the longest war in Gaza by far that has been fought after a spate of Hamas or Islamic Jihad attacks on Israel. And this time Israel does seem determined to eliminate Hamas. And I think the question is how much time it takes and in what manner will it be accomplished. Thanks, Kim, and thanks, Bill. We appreciate it. We're here every day on Potomac Watch, and we hope to see you tomorrow. Thanks for listening.